All right, folks. We're going to talk about something today that I have not touched base on. Um, I may have touched base on it a little earlier, but it may have been on a different platform. But either way, this whole thing with the Olympics, men competing in female sports. Well, we've heard about the two men that beat the crap out of these two females and the controversy surrounding whether or not those men are actually men or if they're women due to some genetic mutation. However, I got Megyn Kelly. I got a clip from her, and she's going to break it down for us. She's going to get us caught up and she's going to educate us.
Competing as women. They're not trans, from what we understand. They suffer what's called DSDs. And that's a different thing, which we'll get into, but I'm going to walk you through it. Okay. I'm going to give you the facts you need to know, but a little bit of background for you. First, the IOC has been aware of this problem in women's boxing for years, and it's done nothing because its number one goal is, quote, inclusion. And it's made that clear. It's woke. It doesn't care about women's safety or women's fairness. It just cares about making the trans or the DSDs feel welcome and safety of women be damned. But this particular case has escalated the matter because it's now in combat sports. Leah Thomas was bad enough. That was swimming, but he was in his own lane. Now we're actually endangering women. This has been banned in sports like rugby, because that's another combat sport. And the entity that controls boxing for women, the International Boxing Federation, has also said this is a no-go and disqualified these two athletes before. And they notified the IOC that these are males, and the IOC ignored it. Its only response has been to attack the Boxing Federation and to say, hands over the ears, it's not true, we're just not going to listen. They have female written on their passports. It's insane what they're doing. Let me kick it off with what we heard from Mark Adams, who's the IOC comms director, last week when this controversy first erupted with the boxer from Nigeria. There's another one from Taiwan. Take a listen to him, SOT 21.
They are women in their passports, and it's stated that is the case, that they are female. They're competing in the women's category. Again, I don't want to mention their names or whatever, but these athletes have competed many times before for many years.
Okay, so they're female, because he says they're female. By the way, Algeria, not Nigeria. And they've competed as females for many years. He skips over the part where they were disqualified from Worlds in 2023 for being men. Okay, so basically they got away with it for a number of years. Therefore, they are female.
So there's a history of them already competing and being found out as male. Yet, for the sake of inclusivity and whatever, inclusiveness and DEI and political correctness, they decided, well, you know what? If they feel like it and they say they are, why not? Who are we to judge? Oh my gosh. They are literally just advocating for violence by letting that happen. These men know that they're men. It's not, they're not new to the idea. They know who they are and what they are. But I'm gonna go ahead and let her keep going. Oh my gosh.
Female. That doesn't hold up. It got to the point where the organization that oversees women's boxing, the International Boxing Association, felt the need to come out publicly and say the IOC is misleading you. And this just happened over the weekend. And they explained this past weekend that this thing started in Turkey in May of 2022 when they were in competition. Tests were taken, and they said the results were inconsistent with femaleness. Next thing they knew, they had championships in 2023 in New Delhi, India. The World Championships come in New Delhi, India. Female World Championships. There were 324 boxers from 64 nations. It was a 10-day competition. And Taiwan's Lin Yoting and Algeria's Emain Khalif were two of those 324 boxers. Now, they and others, this is not that uncommon. It's not common, but it's not unheard of. for people participating in this sport and others like it to be concealing that they suffer from what are called DSDs, suspected differences of sexual development. Differences of sexual development. We used to use the term hermaphrodite, then they changed it to intersex. Now they go by DSDs. And what it means in this case is you're someone who's a male, you have XY chromosomes and testes, but you don't have descended testes, and sometimes you don't have a penis. But then when you hit puberty, something might start growing. But there's no doubt that in the vast majority of these cases, the guy knows he's a guy, at least by the time he hits puberty. And certainly these two know because they had an XY chromosome test done repeatedly, including a blood test, according to the officials in that World Championships, that told them they're men. They know.
They are men. They've had tests done to show that they are actually men more than once. So you've had medical professionals come out and say, she's a dude. And yet we are here having this debate that's not even a debate anymore. It's a fact. They're men. This is how far we've fallen from society. I mean, they go about the same minds that shut us down during COVID and told us to trust the science, literally have the science and are deciding to not trust said science. So it's only trustworthy when it's what they want it to be. And they're just letting these men come in. And these men, they know what they're doing. They're not oblivious to the fact. They know what they're doing. And they're taking advantage of it because they're given the opportunity to take the advantage of it. Like, women aren't allowed to even, we can't have anything anymore. You're literally, you're saying that men are there. So if there's a grunt man, a man that's out there that likes to get down and dirty, fix things, hunt things, stuff like that, that's toxic. Crazy, right? How that's considered toxic. But these men that want to pose as women and beat on women in a professional sport, that's not considered toxic. And then the left call us weird. Oh my god.
They're men. They know. They, according to the experts, would not have any female interior, internal organs. No uterus, no ovaries, no fallopian tubes. There'd be no period, no breast would grow, and that's consistent with what our eyes show us when we see these two compete. But they do have male testes that usually are undescended, so when they are born, they may look female in the genitalia, and therefore many of them are raised as girls in the beginning by well-meaning families who don't understand what they have here. And then it becomes apparent later on as they continue to look more and more like boys, and then they hit puberty, and often the testes do descend, and something approaching a penis could start growing. And all of that deserves empathy and understanding and kindness and non-bullying. And I think we're all there. However, it gets a lot trickier when they enter female sports, especially combat sports, and then remain in them after they know. Because this is not a question of elevated testosterone. They have perfectly normal testosterone for men. For men. They haven't done anything to manipulate their testosterone. It's not a matter of doping, in a way. It's a matter of biology. And this would be the same thing as an Olympian going and competing in the Paralympics. That's not allowed. They have able bodies, and you can't compete against people who don't have those same physical advantages. It would be unfair. We would recognize it clearly in that context. We choose not to here because the IOC is woke. Let me go back to the facts. They were asked to take these further blood tests. They did. They demonstrated chromosomes. This is from the IBA, International Boxing Association presser, that we refer to as ineligible results. That was further ratified, and they were removed. He said, we've got a document that was sent to both boxers, refers to the blood test. We're not able to give the actual blood test results here due to medical privacy, but both boxers signed our letter to show receipt. They had seen the XY. Both had the opportunity to appeal. The Taiwanese fighter chose not to appeal, but Iman Khalif did appeal. And he said, we had further discussions with Iman and we paid for most of that appeal, but Iman dropped it. And therefore, it was never actually adjudicated. Now I ask you, if you were an actual female, why would you drop your appeal?
I'm not going to continue with Megyn's video. She goes further into it, and I can leave a link in the description for you to go check out more. But it is heartbreaking to see these women put so much effort and training, time, blood, sweat, and tears, literally blood, sweat, and tears, to be able to compete against the best in women's sports, in their in in their areas, and just to show up and find that you actually have to compete against a man who everyone knows is a man, not a trans, but a man. And this man knows that he's a man. Further in the video, Megyn talks about how, like this genetic or this biological mutation or issue that they have. Like, yeah, you're talking about other countries and they do what they can with what they have when they realize their child is born this way. And in regard to that, they raise them as female because they appear female physically at that point in time. So in their minds, they're like, okay, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, must be a duck, right? But then later that duck turns into a goose. And this goose, who knew he was a goose, decides to continue as a duck, knowing that it's not fair. You're literally out here beating women with permission for millions to see. One female, she was the first one that actually, that's what stirred up this whole thing. And I can't remember her name, country or anything like that. I'm not watching the Olympics. I just see some clips from it from time to time and hear about some of the things that go on with it. But she trained and made it to the Olympics and wanted to compete in the Olympics to honor her father who passed. Now, she was, you know, trying to fulfill something that would have made her father proud, only to get there and not be able to successfully compete. She gave it what she could. She absolutely gave what she could. But you're talking about a man versus a woman. And this woman did not train for that. Even if she had trained for it, maybe she would have lasted a little longer. I think they said she lasted about 46 seconds or something like that. It was less than a minute. However, even to say she did train, it still wouldn't have been in her favor. It still wouldn't have been fair, because you're talking about a difference in genetic code, genetic makeup. A man's, his muscles, his bone structure, all of that, they're different compared to a woman. And again, these men, they're not taking anything. They have the markers of male. They have male markers. They've taken several of these tests, and they've all shown that they are 100% MALE. Is no dispute. So why are we even here? We're here because this is where the world is now. The world is about taking what's wrong and making it right. they're twisting the truth and they want you to accept it. And then they're going to gaslight you. They're going to say, no, it's actually you who's the problem. It's actually you who needs to accept the change. It's actually you that's being transphobic. No, but of course they're not going to they're going to turn it around on you and make you look like the bad guy. We need to we can fight this. I believe we can. It's going to take, it's going to take a lot of truth, dedication. We cannot let up. Look at how far we went from males demanding access to women's bathrooms, showers, and sports like track and field, to now it's gotten to the point to where they're on the world stage openly beating a woman. And it's they said, and of course the left and the woke are going to say, well, they said, oh, it's never going to get that far. No, it's never going to be like that. No, you guys are lying. That's fake news. And now look at where we are. Internationally, everyone knows that they're male, and they were allowed to go and beat women on TV. All right, folks, that's all I have for you today. I appreciate you stepping in. As usual, please hit that like, share, and subscribe. But before you go, I would love to encourage you all to continue to seek God out, read the Bible, pray, and don't let up. It might seem like it's dark right now, and things look pretty bad. That we do have a lot going on nationally, internationally, but we can't let up. Evil doesn't sleep, and we can't sleep. It's a spiritual battle, and it can get better. It will get better. I believe it will, because in the end, God wins.